And by the way, I like coal. I'm going to make sure we can continue to burn clean coal. People in the coal industry feel like it's getting crushed by your policies. I want to get America and North America energy independent so we can create those jobs. And finally, with regards to that tax cut, look, I'm not looking to cut massive taxes and to reduce the revenues going to the government. My number one principle is there'll be no tax cut that adds to the deficit. I want to underline that. No tax cut that adds to the deficit. But I do want to reduce the burden being paid by middle-income Americans. And to do that, that also means I cannot reduce the burden paid by high-income Americans. So any language to the contrary is simply not accurate.
Mr. President? Well, I think let's talk about taxes because I think it's instructive. Now,
okay, I am back, okay, with Romney. He just clear out dead said, I'm not having a $5 trillion tax cut. What the hell is he saying? And he's talking about education. He's saying for education, but then you just pretty much heard all he said. He is for the middle class. That's what he's saying. He's for the middle class. But remember, what Frank said is that, well, no, he's a business guy. Business guys are always... I have a lot of sits. Frank was right about ketchup. He said if I ate ketchup, I'd break out in sits. This is embarrassing. Anyway, but like Frank's saying that Romney is for big business and not really for middle class. But then people are saying like Obama isn't really for the middle class. He's for poor people. And middle class, I mean, we should be considered poor after $1,000. It's like both sides are against this. Democrats are against this. Republicans are against this. What am I? Am I an independent like Yo Andrew? No, I am not an independent. I am a Democrat. That's right, you heard me. A Democrat. Democrat Republican. So, yeah. Hold on a second. Wow, this like the time is like stopping or something. But I just got a question from one of my supporters, Patrick Murphy. He was like, why would you use a video program for a radio show? Well, in our radio shows, I did record using video, but nobody could ever see it because I always save the audio files. But since today, the radio show is busted through no fault of my own, I like to stress that. I'm so canceled. Since today, I'm doing this. I'm making my own video show where I can actually see me, and then I like to play the clips, which I will edit in later once I upload. So that answers your question, Patrick. Because I can. That's why I'm doing a video radio show. Okay, back to Obama. Oh, by the way, I think you pretty much realized I'm playing songs now. No, I'm not making fun of politics. I'm just trying to make this not boring because people can go on YouTube and listen to this all the time. And then like you hear YouTube video music like Ludacris Get Back and then Gangnam Style. But I'm just trying to make my show interesting. I'm not making fun of politics at all. And remember, I am a Democrat.
When I stood on this stage, I said that I would cut taxes for middle-class families. And that's exactly what I did. We cut taxes for middle-class families by about $3,600. And the reason is because I believe that we do best when the middle class is doing well. And by giving them those tax cuts, they have a little more money in their pocket. And so maybe they can buy a new car. They are certainly in a better position to weather the extraordinary recession that we went through. They can buy a computer for their kid who's going off to college, which means they're spending more money, businesses have more customers, businesses make more profits, and then hire more workers. Now, Governor Romney's proposal that he's been promoting for 18 months calls for a $5 trillion tax cut on top of $2 trillion of additional spending for our military. And he is saying that he is going to pay for it by closing loopholes and deductions. The problem is that he's been asked over 100 times how you would close those deductions and loopholes, and he hasn't been able to identify them. But I'm going to make an important point here, Jim. When you add up all the loopholes and deductions that upper income individuals are currently taking advantage of, you take those all away, you don't come close to paying for $5 trillion in tax cuts and $2 trillion in additional military spending. And that's why independent studies looking at this said the only way to meet Governor Romney's pledge of not reducing the deficit or not adding to the deficit is by burdening middle-class families. The average middle-class family with children would pay about $2,000 more. Now, that's not my analysis. That's the analysis of economists who have looked at this. And that kind of top-down economics where folks at the top are doing well, so the average person making $3 million is getting a $250,000 tax break, while middle-class families are burdened further, that's not what I believe is a recipe for economic growth.
All right. What is the difference? Let's just stay on taxes.
But I get right.
Yeah, let's just stay on taxes for a moment.
Well, but
What is the difference?
virtually everything he just said about my tax plan is inaccurate.
All right, go
So if the tax plan he described were a tax plan I was asked to support, I'd say absolutely not.
Okay, straight up first, Obama's for the middle class and Romney's for the middle class. They're both for the middle class. So, all right, what's the difference? They're both tax cuts for the middle class. I don't see a difference. I don't see a difference. One wants to increase taxes, one wants to decrease taxes. They're both saying they want to decrease taxes. So, and again, Obama just keeps talking about this $5 trillion. And Romney's like saying, I don't have this. I will not approve this. Let me continue.
I'm not looking for a $5 trillion tax cut. What I've said is I won't put in place a tax cut that adds to the deficit. That's part one. So there's no economist can say Mitt Romney's tax plan adds $5 trillion if I say I will not add to the deficit with my tax plan. Number two, I will not reduce the share paid by high-income individuals. I know that you and your running mate keep saying that, and I know it's a popular thing to say with a lot of people, but it's just not the case. Look, I got 5 boys. I'm used to people saying something that's not always true, but just keep on repeating it and ultimately hoping I'll believe it. But that is not the case, all right? I will not reduce the taxes paid by high-income Americans.
Hold on 1 second here. If you keep repeating something, people will believe it. Okay, well, let's go back to where I first heard this statement. It goes back to when we talk about Rome, Catholicism, when Vatican Council 1. And they just kept repeating stuff like the Bible was the true word of God, and that's how we got the Bible. So, just to edit out all the stuff we needed to hear, all the stuff we did not need to hear about, like aliens, or what the History Channel says is true about the Bible. I really have a lot of sits. Yeah. That's where I first heard it. So they're telling me that, well, people just kept on saying that God was God, and then eventually that's what happened. That's what Romney just said. Well, $5 trillion, then yeah, that's $5 trillion. So everybody believes that. Personally, Obama, he did kind of scare me. What if Romney really is doing a $5 trillion? That would I don't know. It's confusing. I'm scared. Let me go back.
And number 3, I will not, under any circumstances, raise taxes on middle-income families. I will lower taxes on middle-income families. Now, you cite a study. There's 6 other studies that looked at the study you described and say it's completely wrong. I saw a study that came out today that said you're going to raise taxes by $3,000 to $4,000 on middle-income families. There are all these studies out there. But let's get to the bottom line. That is, I want to bring down rates. I want to bring the rates down, at the same time lower deductions, and exemptions, and credits, and so forth, so we keep getting the revenue we need. And you think, well, then why lower the rates? And the reason is because small business pays that individual rate. 54% of America's workers work in businesses that are taxed not at the corporate tax rate, but at the individual tax rate. And if we lower that rate, they will be able to hire more people. For me, this is about jobs.
Right.
This is about getting jobs for the American people.
Yeah. You challenge what the governor just said about his own plan?
Well,
Well, he just clear up said for middle class he's going to lower taxes. And now he's saying that Obama's raising taxes like 4,000. Obama should about to say something important about taxes because he's saying like Romney's position is Obama wants to raise taxes. That's the way to fix the economy. But he knows no, you have to lower taxes and create more opportunities for people. So that if they work more, then there'll be more taxes anyway because they'll be paying more taxes. But if you just raise taxes, then there's going to be less people working because they're not making as much. That's like Romney's saying. Now I'm going back to Obama. We got to find another song.
Well, 18 months he's been running on this tax plan. And now, 5 weeks before the election, he's saying that his big, bold idea is never mind. And the fact is that if you are lowering the rates the way you described, Governor, then it is not possible to come up with enough deductions and loopholes that only affect high-income individuals to avoid either raising the deficit or burdening the middle class. It's math. It's arithmetic. Now, Governor Romney and I do share a deep interest in encouraging small business growth. So at the same time that my tax plan has already lowered taxes for 98% of families, I also lowered taxes for small businesses 18 times. And what I want to do is continue the tax rates, the tax cuts that we put in place for small businesses and families. But I have said that for incomes over $250,000 a year, that we should go back to the rates that we had when Bill Clinton was president, when we created 23 million new jobs, went from deficit to surplus, and created a whole lot of millionaires to boot. And the reason this is important is because by doing that, we can not only reduce the deficit, we can not only encourage job growth through small businesses, but we're also able to make the investments that are necessary in education or in energy. And we do have a difference, though, when it comes to definitions of small business. Now, under my plan, 97% of small businesses would not see their income taxes go up. Governor Romney says, well, those top 3%, they're the job creators, they'd be burdened. But under Governor Romney's definition, there are a whole bunch of millionaires and billionaires who are small businesses. Donald Trump is a small business. And I know Donald Trump doesn't like to think of himself as small anything, but that's how you define small businesses if you're getting business income. And that kind of approach, I believe, will not grow our economy, because the only way to pay for it without either burdening the middle class or blowing up our deficit is to make drastic cuts in things like education, making sure that we are continuing to invest in basic science and research, all the things that are helping America grow. And I think that would be a mistake.
All right, Jim, let me just
All right,
come back.
hold on 1 second. Did anyone, like, Donald Trump doesn't have small anything. Did anyone get that joke? I don't want to say it because I don't want to sound weird, but I just got that joke. I can't say it. I hope you all got the joke. Donald Trump doesn't have small anything. Obama, a quote from Obama. Okay, going back to, is he talking about the glowing green thing yet or not? If it's going green, I have the perfect song. If it's not, no, I'll hear what he says and then I'll decide.
On that point, which
Just
is
for the
these
record.
small businesses we're talking about.
Excuse me, just so everybody understands.
Yeah.
We're way over our first 15 minutes.
It's fun, isn't it?
It's okay, it's great.
That's
Great.
okay.
No problem. Now, you all don't have a, you
That's
don't have a
good.
problem, I don't have a problem, because we're still on the economy.
Right.
But we're going to come back to taxes and we're going to move on to the deficit and a lot of other things too. Okay, but go ahead, sir.
You bet. Well, Mr. President,